Now we review the 2024 film Night Richard's Sister. That's not really the title, but this is YouTube. We don't want to get demonetized. There is a cat at my window, and it is being annoying. Ladies and gentlemen, I have seen Nightbitch. Can't really say the title here because YouTube will demonetize if I say that word within like the first so many seconds, I think it is. So perhaps later in the review I can tell you the actual title, but look at the description or look at the title of this video and it's there, obviously. But this is a film that follows a woman in an unhappy marriage where she essentially has two children, her own child and her husband. And in this world where she is terribly unfulfilled because her husband is a drip of a man and a terrible man-child who is completely inept and inadequate at everything involving the home, she begins to essentially hallucinate that she is turning into a dog. And there are body horror hallucination sorts of things and dreams and research. It's a story with a low production value. There are not a lot of crowd scenes and there are not a lot of strange things, but I mean, this is a story essentially about motherhood and the difficulties of a world where women are often given a second level spot to their husbands. And I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, on the one hand, well, she made choices and those choices are coming back to haunt her. She really doesn't care for those choices. And on the other hand, it's like, man, is her husband just oblivious and useless. The dude cannot make breakfast. I mean, this is a cliche at this point, but it's a reality for many. This is a dude who cannot make coffee. You know, and when he's forced to take care of his son, it's like, honey, can you do the honey? Can you, like, you know, she's like, I take care of this on my own. I don't ask you for help. Why can you not do this on your own? And the reason is that he is a aggressively incompetent man-child who really has no business being a father. And, yeah, you know, it's almost insulting as a man to see this character, although I know this is an accurate portrayal. I mean, I remember my own father, you know, saying that somewhere he picked up airplane. I don't even think you can hear that, but it's bothering me. Somewhere he picked up somebody saying, you know, the husband should help with the chores around the house. And his response to that was, yes, and the wife should carry around her husband's balls in her pocket. But the thing about that, of course, is that my mother was a working mother, you know? And she didn't just take care of the kids. She had a job. And that means that being employed outside the home, my father should have helped with the housework. That's just how it is. Or, I mean, the alternative to that is he could have been a good enough provider to hire a maid and have that maid help with the housework. I mean, it's kind of the thing there. It's like, yes, look, I grant if you're some dude, you know, popping 300K and, you know, you can afford to hire a housekeeper and have somebody deal with that for you, yeah, you don't have to help with the housework. Although, you know, even in that case, your wife is not a servant, particularly if she has her own job. So you should be able to at least make coffee. A man that cannot make coffee does not deserve to live. That is just offensively stupid. I mean, I grant, not everyone makes coffee as well as, say, I do. You know, I am told I make very good coffee. And it's possible that this man's wife likewise makes very good coffee. But this doesn't mean that he cannot make coffee on his own. He should be able to do it. I'm really upset by that. Now, there are some other really odd things about this this movie that, I mean, it doesn't seem like their relationship is that bad, but they get a divorce. And it's not even a plot point. It's like, there was no conversation about it. There was like, boom, they're divorced. My head's spinning from the whole they got a divorce thing. That seems very random. It didn't seem like their relationship was that bad. And then, of course, the man, it being very stereotypical, he realizes what a dick he was. And maybe they'll get back together. It's never expressly stated. But that's, I mean, it's kind of an element that I just don't get for this particular film. It doesn't seem like it was a bitter divorce. It seemed like it was just a, you know what, nah, which I've never really experienced a couple that had that personality, but okay. You know, it does happen, I'm sure. And then, you know, the female empowerment is a little strange. As I guess there are cultures in the world that view a woman's ability to give birth, to create life, as being supernatural in nature. Women being godlike in that ability to make a child, to create another life. It's a way to look at it. I mean, Einstein said, you know, there are two ways to look at the universe. Either that everything is a miracle or that nothing is. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I mean, I do have to admit that it's a very wonky dynamic there, because, like, there's a scene where she actually comes out and says, I could crush a walnut with my vagina. Why would you want to do that? I mean, I will agree with you, vaginas are wonderful things. I mean, I would describe them as magical. You know, complex, perhaps beautiful, in fact. Although, you know, like anything, there's the beautiful and then there's the less beautiful. But, I mean, really, they're all magical in their own way, aren't they? I mean, that's how that bit of anatomy works. You know, it's, to us men, most of us consider it something of a mysterious pocket of joy, let's say. So yes, but the ability to crush a walnut, which is reminiscent of a testicle, in this particular part of the female anatomy, why? Dear God, why? Why would you put that image in my head? How would it get in there? Do you intend to eat the walnut afterwards? What is going on? So yeah, Nightbitch, I think I can say it now. It's a bizarre movie. Really is. And being a bizarre movie, it actually ticks it up a bit. I would say that this kind of a film is in the upper middle of your watch list. I mean, here's the thing. There are women who have lived this movie. And it really is important for you as a person to understand those women, you know? Like, it kind of reminds me of the relationship between my mother and father. They split up when I was 10. And, it's one of those things. My mother wasn't much of a cook. She wasn't a great homemaker. To be completely honest with you, through most of my life, she was too sick to do much of anything. The 10 years I knew her, and believe me, I loved my mother, she wasn't a good cook. She wasn't great at keeping things up. She had to hire a maid or a babysitter who cleaned the house. And I mean, that's okay. Things happen. But we as men should understand that a woman, in spending most of her life caring for the children, has given up an incredible amount of herself. And we should respect that and be supportive of that. A man should be able to take the kids for the day and have his wife go off with her girlfriends and do her thing. Having a child doesn't mean that you should have to give up on your dreams. I mean, yeah, part of it is, in our modern world, the support structure is kind of broken down. And nowhere in this movie is it shown where these people's parents are, where the couple's parents are. And it's like, yes, if you have children in your mid to late 20s, or, even in your late 30s or 40s, your parents should pretty much still be around to help you take care of them. Grandma should be there to, teach you how to change a diaper, and that is a support structure that's, the family dynamic of humans. It's one of the reasons why we as human beings live to be in our 80s, and yet we are generally not reproductive after, say, the age of 45. The reason being is that these older individuals could take care of children. Somebody's got to stay back at the cave and look after the kids while the younger folk are out hunting. That's how life works. So that being how life works, yeah, okay, there's a support structure that appears to be missing. So yes, if you examined the dynamic, the ideal dynamic of a middle-class couple, they go off, they have kids, their parents are still there to assist them in the rearing, so they want to go on a vacation without the baby, they can go on a vacation without the baby, drop it off at grandma's for a few days. This is a good way for it to bond with grandma and, give them time off so that they can still be them. This is a dynamic that not everybody has. And this movie illustrates what happens when that support structure is clearly broken down. I mean, I can tell you, my sister had her son late in life. At that point, my father was in no way capable of looking after a child. Although, I don't think he was ever capable of looking after a child. And my mother had long since passed away. So, yeah, I don't know how heavily she relied on her husband's parents, but her husband's parents weren't all that great parents either. Her husband was kind of a douche. Is kind of a douche. So, yeah, there is a dynamic here that we should understand. And this is a movie that carries with it the message of we should respect women. We should respect how wonderful they are and how hard they work, and not expect to be mothered by our spouse. That's just one of those things. It's been a common aspect of media for many, many generations that the husband becomes a child to the wife. And I mean, you saw that in the I Love Lucy show. Fred, I think I may be thinking of the wrong show, but I remember Ethel saying that Fred once told Ethel that, she should get up in the morning with a broken leg to make him breakfast because walking would help it heal. So yeah, this is something that transcends a lot of media. It's a thing that we hit on a lot, and do understand it's a thing that we hit a lot in a world that is predominantly dominated by men, the world of writing. Most authors are men, So that dynamic shining through really does say something. So Nightbitch is a movie that you probably should see. It should definitely be on your watch list, and in my opinion, in the upper middle of that watch list. It is one of those films that you should just probably see it at some point in your life before you get married. But then that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. I, of course, am Richard.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Fred the Facehugger, and I'd like to point out that this world isn't a nice place. But you know who's trying to make it a nice place? The owner of this channel, yes. The owner of this channel does things like pay for ocean cleanup, and have trees planted, and even feed orphans in an orphanage in Mexico. Yes, it's a real thing. I'm not kidding. I may be a face-hugging alien from a horror movie, but I'm not a liar. Anyway, when you comment, like, and subscribe, you're supporting that better world, and whereas it may not make a big difference, it may be the difference between one more tree planted, one more pound of trash out of the ocean, or one child not going hungry tonight. So, think about it. Shouldn't you comment? Shouldn't you like? Shouldn't you subscribe? I certainly would if I were you. I'm Fred.